Hey,
what's up? We're live right away. What's up, everybody? It's WrestleZone live from the Thunder Zone, baby. What's up, everyone? We are live with you for the second time now. We're on 3 different apps at the same time. It's pretty cool. Actually, 4 if you're enjoying us on a podcast app. It is the Tuesday edition of the WrestleZone Wrap-Up, okay? Coming to you on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at the same time. Go ahead, if you're enjoying the show, hit the like button. Go ahead and get your comments on screen with us live. Don't worry, we will be doing a Q&A at the end of this episode. I am not alone. Double time on the Phonetic, bald and beautiful in 2 different parts of the continental United States, covered in snow. Mr. Dominic, DeAngelo in Pittsburgh, PA, me, Kellam here in Chicago, Illinois, and you, wherever you are. Shout where you guys are. Tell me where you are. Let's jump into the wrestling news of the day. Dominic, the latest on WWE cracking down on these third-party apps with their contracted superstars. What do we have at WrestleZone?
Yeah, it's so like no third-party mentions on talent's Twitter or social media, Instagram, anything like that. And you'll know, I mean, we were talking about it off air. It's like somebody like Lana who's been making bank in that kind of style and stuff.
Nearly $500,000 in 2020.
That's insane.
Woo!
That's crazy.
Woo!
It's just
that is
crazy.
a lot of money. There's a lot of money. She signed a new deal like what, sometime last year?
Did she? I don't know.
Yeah, she signed a new deal, I think sometime late 2019. Like a 5-year deal, so it's a long-term deal.
Right before she started going through tables.
Yeah, the thing is, you can go through table, you still get paid, right? People forget that part. So yeah, this is from several different sources, including Wrestling Inc. and F4W. According to the report, the company would start cracking down on talent who use their social media accounts to promote third-party businesses, people, brands, and charities. The initial report claimed that WWE is issuing a warning first-time offenders on new restrictions, which would be followed by a fine and even suspension for subsequent infractions. Since then, WWE has clarified a report to F4W Online that said that the new restrictions only applied to the monetization of the superstars' Twitter and Instagram accounts by working with third parties. It was noted that the new policy is not dissimilar to what they announced a few months ago and the existing policies on banning talent from monetizing apps like Twitch and Cameo, but didn't specifically include Twitter and Instagram at the time. According to F4W, the company's stance is that they maintain contractual ownership of the likeness of its performers on social media accounts, regardless of whether or not they are listed under their stage names or real names. Now, that's to be debated. WWE putting out a lengthy statement saying, just like companies like Disney and Warner Brothers, WWE creates, promotes, and invests in its intellectual property, i.e. the stage name of their performances. They've named several of them. This has been the standard. This has been the line. What do you think of it, Dominic?
I don't like it, Kev. I think I understand, like, from a business perspective of WWE's mentality of it. But hey, you know what? Disney and Warner Brothers, they have employees, okay? And what you're considering your quote-unquote employees are independent contractors. So it's like when you're in that gray area, if that's not clearly cut and listed like to your talent beforehand, and you're just tacking this stuff on, I think that creates a concern. And it's unfair. It is unfair, I think, in a lot of ways. Now if it's conflicting with your business, you have to change the way your business is set up and how you handle your employees or your independent contractors. So you want them to adhere to these rules and do your thing, then you should maybe be consider changing the job description.
True. My thing is, we've known now for months where the line is, that WWE's drawn this line in these deals, says to people what they are. And now, are people still trying to find a way around it? Are they still trying to make some backdoor deal that you can't? My thing is, you can't do that because at this point, if WWE's trying to represent you in those type of agreements, they're trying to represent the entire locker room and the entire brand and the entire team. So if you step away from that agreement, you're, quote unquote, in the old wrestling term, going into business for yourself, which in the eyes of many people, that's what wrestling is, right? They're independent contractors. Why don't they unionize? I know that debate comes up right away. That's a completely separate debate because the debate is over with. This is the agreement.
Is it though? Is it over though? It's ongoing.
It's a separate agreement that just is stirred by this. But under these circumstances, you said you're going to follow up on this, and you're going to do this under the team banner, right? And this isn't me saying, oh, people should be able to make the money. I'm not saying that. I'm not telling anyone what to do with their careers or anything like that. There's a multifaceted industry. But if you do that, that's an immediate conflict of sales for WWE to make these agreements work for the company overall on this massive platform with so many different tentacles in digital media that WWE has, which is one of their biggest portfolios. It's one of the biggest things they can offer, probably even bigger than television in some regards as to what it is. Some people talk about ratings. I mean, look at their viewership online. It's massive. It's incredibly huge. They compete with other sports leagues online in terms of consumption and chatter and engagement. So I understand why they feel that's something they should be able to monetize, or at least have an overarching perspective of what that's going to be. Now, if you're under contract, you agree, you know what that is, you know what the rules are, and then you break out of it. At this point, I get it. I just get why there's a conflict on it. I get why people think they should be able to do what they want. I hope they can do more cool things, because I know many fans probably just like, I only like when my favorites on TV, and I only like when I can see them on Twitch, and that's it. That's all I want to consume from WWE. So to them, and that's super specific, to them, that's a real issue. Go ahead and chime in here. Let me know what you guys are thinking if you're watching here, and what you're feeling. Plenty of people
those are questions too. It's like, yeah, you mentioned all these different sports leagues and the wide range. I think them tacking this stuff on, and maybe they're not, maybe this is part of their contract. It's always been, but it sounds like just from this coming up, it seems like it's like they're tacking it on. So if you're going to do this, if you're going to be in that league, you're going to play ball like all the other sports leagues or entertainment entities do, then you know what? Change your job description for your workers, okay, and make it to that. Otherwise, like, you're going to get this gray area, and you're going to get these kind of conflicts. It's going to be a problem. So if you're a publicly traded company that wants to be considered in the same realm as an NFL, an ESPN, a Disney, or whatever, then do that. But if you're like, you can't have your cake and eat it too in a lot of ways. I mean, there are, because they have leverage over their the workers right now. So, I mean, they can, but you're going to get reverberations from this if you don't specify and make this clear and make it more defined, not just for the company, but for the employees too.
The thing is, I feel it's defined at this point, though. Like, you know what I mean? And now you have other people trying to redefine it so they can make more money.
Are they redefining it, or has WWE been unclear about it? So I think it's a little bit of both, and I think it's WWE's responsibility to be clear about it, because every other company that does this or that has this right does make that crystal clear and has these parameters set. But WWE wants to live in this gray zone of like, oh no, they're independent contractors, that's our out. So I mean, you know what? You're going to do this stuff, then you're going to take these things away from these independent contractors, because independent contractors, then you have to make those adjustments to your company. I don't know, Kev. I'm not with it on this. I mean, I get it too. I get it if you're a business and you're set up from that. Say if you're Disney and you have employees and you can't be like, hey, buy this product. I'm selling this, unless that's in your contract, and it's not, then like, I get it. I get it from a corporate standpoint. And WWE has that corporate vibe because they are a corporation. They're publicly traded. They should do that. Well, if you're going to do it, go the whole hog. Don't go half-assed on it. So,
fair take. WWE, on the other hand, is signing up quite a bit of talent at the moment to both their NXT United States division and UK brands. Today, we learned that NXT UK has reportedly signed through Alex McCarthy at Talk Sport, Millie McKenzie. She joins WWE's UK brand. She will be a part of the Saturday Progress card, which is streaming on the WWE Network, Chapter 104 at 3 p.m. Eastern. She was one of the people that came up in the speaking out movement, making accusations at former NXT UK star Travis Banks. According to the report, it is believed that Travis being signed with NXT UK was a discouragement from Millie joining the brand. Since he has exited, she feels certainly reportedly more comfortable. WWE has high hopes for her. She is slated to be plugged into the top card program with another recent signee, Japanese veteran Miko Satomura. Some big moves here by WWE. They've also brought over to the UK brand Ben Carter, who AEW was trying to get for a period of time, Rampage Brown. Meanwhile, over in the United States, Eli Drake, now known as LA Knight, and Taya Valkyrie, along with Harlem Bravado, have reportedly joined the NXT United States division this week. WWE making some really big moves here.
Kev, there's another significant signing too. I'm just reading about Blake Christian just signed with WWE too.
Blake Christian has been in a tour duty here recently with Impact Wrestling. Mm-hmm. Was featured on the most recent he was on the Hard to Kill pay-per-view. He was in different action there as well. In the X division, it seemed like they were really doing some stuff with him, or at least
he was a highlight. Like he was just on Impact this last week, wasn't he? In that multi-man tag.
Yeah, I mean, but that's also a show that tapes out for months on end. So
that
I mean,
but it's just significant. It's pretty. The turnover is pretty impressive.
So it's definitely interesting here. Obviously, some people hate the new WWE names. I hate when they get new names.
You know what? I don't mind LA Knight, honestly. I really don't.
You don't mind LA Knight?
I don't mind it. I think it'll be, you know what? I think it's going to be like that, kind of like the Daniel Bryan example. Is like, okay, well, that's weird. He's Bryan Danielson. He's not Daniel Bryan. And then you get used to it. I think this is going to be another one. I mean, people are going to be like, "Oh, that's stupid," and I get it. It has that kind of like, but you know what? It's
that name grew. That name grew on people.
That name grew on people. And
every time that comes up.
In the 90s, we're cheering for Razor Ramon. We're cheering for Hulk Hogan. We're cheering for fucking Big Boss Man. So we're okay. It's going to work out. The name thing is not, I mean, if you have a basic name, that's what I'm going to be more upset about. Where it's just like this, like, bland.
Where it's like the name generator. We've seen those before. Yeah. It's like the bad name generator.
Where that's, I think that's more disconcerting than having a unique name like LA Knight, where that stands out. You know, so
what would your WWE name be?
Ooh, that's tough. I really want to figure out like a good name generator to come up with a high.
It would still be Dominic, but it'd be like Dominic De Niro.
Yeah, it would be something like that. Yeah, where I'd be like, fucking, it'd be Dominic Scorsese or some weird, like spot on, too hammered, too like on the nose with something.
Kyle Beardham. It wouldn't be Kevin Kellam.
Kyle Beardham.
It would just I understand it here. Do want to talk about this story has been coming out. Tell me about the kind of thought-provoking thing that Tony Khan, the president of AEW, the other big wrestling company in the United States, at least that's how some people have started to revere them. They have really rallied together this consortium now of formerly forbidden doors that are now open between them and Impact Wrestling. We've known that since November. New Japan Pro Wrestling is in on this. NWA has been on this. And then AAA in Mexico is also involved. So these are all major international wrestling companies, all under some one loose figurative banner with a worldwide pandemic. So you have quarantines and different things like that, but they're trying to take advantage of people being landlocked in the United States, not being able to go over to Japan that are under contract with them. Japan saying, yeah, let's get those guys some reps and some exposure. AEW, completely different challenge for them. So they say, yeah, let's work with all these other brands. They have tiered deals. They have a different arrangement. And then the question then becomes, well, if you're working with all these other people, would you work with WWE? And AEW President Tony Kahn said he would be open to it. That's an alarming thing to hear.
I don't think it's super alarming because I think, who was I talking to? Was it Marcus? I think it was Marcus and Dan St. Germain on Two Dynamite Dudes. We were mentioning in this. And like, we're like, yeah, it was because Marcus made this pitch about like, hey, do you think WWE would get in this mix? And we're like, I think Tony Khan would be up for it, but there's no way WWE would. Like, so I think it's intriguing. Like, I mean, it's obvious. I think from the AEW standpoint, of course you're gonna say that, and I think it could get like they would be willing to do it, but I think there's just that bubble for the AEW universe, not the AEW, the WWE universe to be in, where it's like this is our universe and this is our zone. We are controlling everything. We're the flagship. We're the mothership, and that's how it goes. I mean, I think it's a neat thing to think about, and it would be cool, but it's not going to happen. And I think it would cause more conflict than anything else, too, Kevin.
It would cause more conflict. You're absolutely right. Yeah. But it is interesting to bring it up, right?
Yeah,
I mean, just like it is an intriguing theory to get into, and when you start to do this much collaboration between promotions, it's bound to happen. It's bound to be something that the fans want to know about. And here's the thing, Tony Kahn is doing this Wrestle Fetish podcast, and he's talking about it. And obviously it's a loose kind of panel discussion. And he says they are more than welcome. As I've said, the forbidden door is open anytime. Just come and knock. If they were to knock on the door, then I would certainly be willing to let them in. Come in, please. I would love that. Come to Jacksonville. I'm begging you. I would love it. So that's the direct quote from him.
You know what, Kev?
It feels like fan service more than an honest.
Well, I honestly think it's something that they would be up for. But you know what? It puts the ball in WWE's court. It puts the onus on them to do it.
It does, but that's just gamemanship, isn't it? To say, like, oh no, we're into it.
But
they're not into it.
That's business.
And to me, that's the snide part of it. I would like a more structurally sound answer to that question than just, oh yeah, sure, the fans want it. Doesn't mean you exactly want it. Like there is a tongue in cheek to this. I'm not saying that I don't think Tony Khan is being honest.
But that's good. Yeah. I mean, I think that's okay though, because they are your competition. So you're going to say that, hey, we're up for business. We're open for business. Come on in. Sure, there's going to be some of that.
And there's a lot more. There's a lot more of this. Like I've heard people call it a cabal, if you will. This cabal of the non-WWE entities working together to make something work. And part of it is, where are we at the other side of the pandemic in that final quarter of 2021 that we're hearing when arenas are going to be open? When you're going to have when you're going to be able to have some form of more normal events. Obviously AEW is locked into the Daily's Place in Jacksonville. I think the idea is people want to see some of those big names from Japan come over, or vice versa. But there's a lot of travel restrictions that got to come down. So it's all based on how that goes. Right now, I think WWE. Here's the thing: if you're a WWE fan, they don't need this. I don't think they really need this. I think the collaborations between NXT, Raw, and specifically NXT with Raw and SmackDown, those are still very fresh. And we haven't seen enough of the Raw and SmackDown talent come to Wednesdays. And I do think that is the chess move in terms of that battle on Wednesday nights between NXT on USA Network and the direct opposition of AEW, completely separate company, Time Warner on TNT. Those haven't been played yet. And I do see them playing like that. Well, that's the illusions they're going to with Edge popping up on NXT. That's the stuff they're going to with the winner of the Women's Dusty Cup getting a shot at somebody else from another brand. I don't mind that with NXT. I like a little more separation between Raw and SmackDown, two different networks, right? Yeah. But I think it'd be cool if you saw a Bobby Lashley show up on NXT and say, I'm going to call somebody out. And that would be a little bit more exciting. And I also think for the WWE base, that'd be more exciting. Obviously, for wrestling fans in general, something between, hey, let's just throw it out there. A couple of years ago, before even the launch of AEW, I was at the Ace Comic-Con. I even have the pass for it right over here.
Oh, fancy.
The Ace Comic-Con right there. And Seth Rollins on stage. And the question is put to him, who in the wrestling world outside of WWE do you want to have a match with? And he says Kenny Omega. He said it point blank. He did not. He knew, he took a little bit, but he's like, there's somebody that says they're the best wrestler in the world, and I think I'm better than them. And I mean, a Rollins Kenny Omega match would be exciting. Yeah. I think people have always wanted a Hiroshi Tanahashi John Cena match. What's a WWE AEW dream match that pops out into your mind? There's a couple that come to mind, but I don't want to hog them up.
Let me see here. Sheesh. I'm trying to think. Okay. Personally, I guess I would like to see like Daniel Bryan versus like a Ricky Starks or a Darby Allin. I think that'd be pretty sweet. Like Daniel Bryan, pretty much anybody. Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, you throw them against anybody, I'm up for it in AEW. You know?
Yeah, I'm up for it as well. Yeah. I think Daniel Bryan is still one of the most entertaining wrestlers in the world, even if he's not at the top of the card. He's still a guy who can steal. You give him the time, and you give him the right story, he can steal the show every single time.
Yep.
Every single time. I think that'd be interesting here. People want to see Styles versus Kenny Omega. They want to see that happen. There are people saying if Avengers can do a crossover, why not AEW and WWE? It's a lot more confusing.
Yeah, Avengers. It's more like Marvel versus DC. That's what
it's a lot more confusing than that. Mm-hmm. James Stevenson says, didn't Triple H always say they would be open for business? To be clear, I don't think he ever said about AEW. No, I don't want to be misquoted there. He's open to working with other promotions. It's a lot more of a broader answer. I will say this. I could see WWE's addressed AEW the first time they went on air and they had a successful thing. They're not acknowledging them, you know? So, I mean, that's a lot because for a long time, like TNA was there and doing quite well, but never really catching up with WWE. And WWE never acknowledged them, never even said their name for a very, very long time. And for the most part, now they certainly are. Here's how I would see them collaborate in some way. And this is like a direct collaboration where they would be on the same parallel thing. Mm-hmm. Something online where no one has to lose to anyone and there's no wrestling that is charity oriented. If they did something that was a collective purpose for a charity, and it was a bunch of different wrestling people together, and maybe it was some type of Q&A or panel, and it wasn't wrestling oriented, but it was certainly an exciting thing. I could see that being something that WWE and AEW or other wrestling promotions would do for the sake of charity in an isolated circumstance. And it wouldn't be in Canada, the weekly television shows for either brand. Maybe it'd be something behind a paywall. That's the hypothetical thing that I think could really happen, where WWE would say, yeah, you're going to go and do this. All right, you guys agree to this. We agree to this. Here's our talent. Maybe they jaw jack a little bit. No different than when Stone Cold and CM Punk, traded barbs and they were talking about a hypothetical match. And obviously Stone Cold's not going to wrestle again, right? They did that for a video game about 7 years ago. I could see something like that for charity stuff, to raise money for a big charity and some type of event. I could see something like that just being completely even. That's the most realistic thing I think could happen.
Yeah, I could see something to that effect at some point. Wasn't there something? Did it? I don't know if it happened or not. Was it New Day versus like Young Bucks and Kenny at Street Fighter? Did they do something to that?
Yes, and that was early on. That was early on in AEW being announced. They weren't on TV yet, but I think that was post All In, pre Dynamite.
Was it? I thought it was in the thick of AEW's at some point.
No, but I mean, like AEW was already in motion. Like it had already been rolled out, but they weren't at the level of we have a TV contract or anything like that yet.
Yeah.
So, and I do remember that being a big deal for video game wrestling nerds. So I could see that as well.
Yeah.
Other people chiming in.
Venn diagram would be the olive branch is the independent olive branch is RJ City. He does his watch-alongs.
Because he does the WWE watch along. Yeah. How have they not signed him? How is he not under a deal?
I kind of like it though, because he's like because he can say whatever. I think that's part of it. That's part of who he is. He says whatever.
Get him as a contract guy in NXT.
Oh my god, I love it.
If he was in NXT, I think he'd be a star.
You use him right, man. Mm-hmm.
What? I'm sorry. We have a little bit. We have a tiny delay. What did you say?
Delay? I say you use him right, it'll be great. Yeah.
So, do have to talk about this. Elimination Chamber is on Sunday. WWE, I will say this, did a fine job on Monday Night Raw of building to this on a 3-week build. Monday Night Raw has been a sore spot for many weekly wrestling fans following different WWE shows. But I can say this show, one of the best Monday Night Raws that I've seen in some time.
Really? I've heard like mixed bag stuff on Twitter.
I thought the gauntlet match was super exciting and had didn't have just a little bit of gaga interference with the Thunderdome screen being taken over by Alexa Bliss. It's a gauntlet match. You're gonna have one wonky little fun distraction finish for multiple eliminations. Fun hour-long wrestling match that made you feel like you had to tune in to see what was going to happen next every single segment. And goddamn, Sheamus pinned the world champion at the end of the night. That was interesting. So WWE went in some different directions. If you want to catch up on that, John Clark and I did the post show for it. That is up now in the podcast feed, Facebook Watch, and our YouTube page as well. Definitely go check it out. Also, we've just launched this very fun series. We talk about fantasy booking. Why aren't they doing what's in my head on the TV? Tell me about WCW Rewritten. I love the first episode that dropped last week.
Yeah, it's great, man. Marcus and I recorded episode 2 earlier this week, and it follows up. Like, you get to see a little bit more developing with stuff that's going off what the conventional thought of for WCW Nitro was at the time. So, tune into episode 1 if you haven't caught up on it, because it's the whole Starrcade. It starts with Starrcade 97, and the card up and down remains the same. But Marcus, my degenerate brother Marcus, makes the changes of it, of what happens and some of the occurrences. Some of it stays the same, some of it changes, and then you start to see that come to fruition next night on Monday Nitro. And so it gets very interesting, and it's a nice little escape out of what you're, it kind of puts you in that whole fantasy booking mode, stuff like that. And we are up for like any kind of input and stuff like that. And I will say we are taking, this is a little previews. We are taking some suggestions for licensed music of what Bret Hart's WCW theme should be. So if you have a alt rock song of something that really stands out, that you think
hypothetical. This is
hypothetical.
Hypothetical.
This is very hypothetical. So if you have some suggestions, hit us up on the old social media there. So at WCW Rewritten. So,
and are we dropping those on Thursdays? Am I correct?
Drop it on Thursdays. Every Thursday.
Okay. All right. So. Definitely check out. And then we have 2 Dynamite Dudes with Attitudes. That is your AEW focus show.
Yep.
That we drop Fridays and Saturdays, depending on when it flows in there. So tons of content. Let me put it to you, this guy. I've said it to you guys before. We have a Patreon's worth of content with no paywall. And this wasn't. I would say maybe we could have planned something like that, but we were like rolling out so much stuff in the pandemic. We felt there was a need, even from our hardcore fans, the guys are with us. We have plenty of people that just consume the show on demand as well. That we felt like, all right, maybe we should do it. And then we just kept making it up. And I was like, I just said it to somebody, and somebody was like, yeah, you guys have like hours and hours of stuff every single week. So if you need to feed that beast in your head and you need something in the background, even if your comments aren't with us on screen, I hope we're helping you out. Let us know what your feedback is of just the flow of shows and different stuff like that. Change it up a little bit. Give us a hit over on the Twitter machine at WrestleZone.com. Do want to tell you in the weeks ahead, look at this bad boy. We love ourselves some trivia here.
Yeah.
And this is the Road to WrestleMania, the Road to WrestleMania activity and trivia book. Is it for kids? But do big kids get to play with it as well? Yeah. Do you get to draw your own championship belt?
Ooh.
All right. Did I buy too many of these? Yeah, I bought several of these, so there's more than one to give away. Here we go.
What do we got here?
WrestleMania 2. Oh, the book smells good. When you get a book and it smells
I love
good.
the smell of that stuff.
Yeah, it's really good. Every show, WrestleMania 2, every show of shows, WrestleMania, was hosted live on a Sunday, except for WrestleMania 2. What day of the week did it fall on?
I'm going to say Saturday.
Saturday. I have to check. I have to go to the back to the answer key?
Oh, gosh.
So annoying. I don't want to do that.
God, that's a lot of work.
Give us the answer. I want to move on to this segment. I don't want to be flipping through a book on air.
Too much work.
The Rock is beyond wrestling. He is so beyond it. making illusions of once again running for office, potentially to be president, which he's talked about before. He's still producing several different TV projects. He has several movie projects in the work. Everyone wants him to come back for another big wrestling match with Roman Reigns. But he has something else big that's been in the works for some time right now, and that is a kind of dramedy comedy series based on his youth called Young Rock. It'll take place a little bit during his preteen years, his teenage years, and his early 20s. So a little bit of the 80s, 90s, and a little bit further on in the 90s of his wrestling career. I like that it's multifaceted. We've gotten a lot of different clips from it. We get to see some new actors playing old stars in real time. It looks pretty cool. Premieres tonight on NBC. What do you think of it?
I'm excited. It's kind of cool. What's awesome about The Rock is he always tips his cap to wrestling. He's not embarrassed by it. He's not, he doesn't dismiss it or push it to the side. And starting off, when he was a very young actor and stuff like that, he had to do that to kind of make his way in the business, in the movie business. But after the fact, he embraces it with open arms. He pays tribute to so many legendary wrestlers of old, new, and is very respectful of the business. So it's neat to see it get positioned on a primetime television thing where we have a lot of familiar faces of wrestling, yesteryear that are going to be featured on there as well. So I'm excited for it. I need some good comedy in my life going on. I haven't had a good series to tune into. So this will be, I'm excited for it, Kev. I can't do it. I'll be covering Impact Live tonight, so I can't watch it as is. Yes. So I will have to watch it later, but I'm excited.
For you guys who follow Impact a little bit, I know some people are starting to follow it a little bit, maybe not watch it every week. We do have an Impact post show, which we'll be doing tomorrow. Boss man Bill Pritchard will come on down from the throne and do that show with us tomorrow.
How he does it is Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 12 style. As he repels
because he won't do things that he wouldn't make his own talent do. Right.
Yeah. So
we know too much stuff. We know too many things. Was WrestleMania on a Saturday? Really? Okay, yeah. So it was on a Monday. Nick Batson
was Monday.
On a Monday. It's 3 different cities on a Monday. People want to see
how
it.
About that?
Once again, they could
Monday Night Mania.
Could they do it in 3 different cities again? Could they do a WrestleMania in 3 different cities?
Oh, absolutely, they could.
It would be super expensive to run that. I mean, because you'd have to do that production at scale. That setup, that stage and everything in 3 different cities.
Sure. You could do it in 2 at least, though.
Yeah, at least in 2 different cities, I think would be interesting.
Get London or Britain.
But then you have the time. You have the time difference.
That's true, but you could make it work.
Yeah, London and New York at the same time. That'd be wild, wouldn't it?
That would be wild.
That'd be wild. And it takes just a little bit of something to throw that
Although
off,
I'm for no offense to New York, but I'm for not going back to New York probably ever again. Just because.
Because you and I had the issue when we were at the last WrestleMania and all that nightmare getting out of there, right?
Yeah, right. You especially. I wasn't at the actual show. You were.
Oh, dude. It was problematic because the show ran so long.
Yeah,
and it was an issue. Yeah. And I remember there was an overflow of people. We were walking around the wrong side of MetLife Stadium, and we're on the talent side. And you're just walking through the parking lot, there's Bruce Pritchard and writers and Flair and different people, and you're just we're not supposed to be here. It wasn't I wanted to be there, but we're walking through it, and it's there's such an overflow of people not being directed in the right way. I was just we're not. No.
When did you get back to your hotel?
Oh, I don't think I got back to the hotel until at least 2:30 in the morning.
Dear God,
it was pretty late. Let's get into some questions here. I do want to I do enjoy just letting it flow open to the crowd here. The people that are with us every single day, the people that spend hours with us every single week. I love you guys. I truly, truly do. Some of you, I see your names on a screen, probably more than some members of my family. All right. So that has to be said here. We'll jump into some questions and different things you guys have about what's going on in the world of wrestling. We are 53 days away from WrestleMania. And we have someone saying they would love to see WrestleMania at Madison Square Garden again. I think Madison Square Garden will get a major event. WWE was talking about doing something at New York when the numbers in the summertime were looking a little bit better and there was hope of some limited event, and they were being very aspirational to doing the best possible thing they could. We do at the same time have New York opening up restaurants and opening up arenas with very limited attendance. I don't know if WWE wants to run Madison Square Garden with 1,000 people in it, but it could be unique to see something like that. There is some appeal to it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like, Kev, I wouldn't be that like doing it with few people there would make a little bit more sense at this point. I think obviously you want to make money and stuff, but I mean, just for the spectacle and the event of it being at Madison Square Garden, I think that would be kind of worth doing if you're able to finagle that at some point down this year, later on, if you're doing it safe in the appropriate way, obviously. But yeah, that would be kind of cool. Like, this is what I don't like though. Like, WWE is kind of when they go to Madison Square Garden, it doesn't look like the unique Madison Square Garden setup like it always used to do. Whenever you'd have like Royal Rumble 2000 there, or like WrestleMania,
that very
there,
they're right on top of you while you make the crowd is right on top of someone while they make an entrance. That type of thing.
Like I would almost, if they're gonna do it, make it stand out. Don't make it like kind of blend in with your other productions that you usually do. But yeah, I'd be game for it.
I would be game for it. I mean, we're gonna see a WrestleMania with a crowd. Yeah, we're gonna see a WrestleMania that looks similar to the Super Bowl. And we haven't heard the cardboard fan roll out, but I think it's going to happen. That's something you can do. You can sell those spots to people. There'll be a charity tie-in of some kind, assuming it happens. So let's hope they also get frontline workers who've been vaccinated first to be able to attend the event, just like the Super Bowl did. So WWE saying they're going to do a lot of the same plays as the Super Bowl set up for them in the same arena, in the same city. So you can see a lot of it, and there's going to be more fans there because they have the field. So it's 2 nights. It's just 2. I'm okay with WrestleMania 2 nights. How do you feel about WrestleMania 2 nights?
I thought the execution of it, I mean, obviously the circumstances were different. I thought the execution of it last year was decent and good, made sense. I don't know if it's a consistent thing or not. Like, if I would necessarily, I don't know if it takes away from the big spectacle, but if you're going to have it like a super duper long event, like it was in New York City, then yes, it makes perfect sense.
Yes. If you wanted to get as many moments on a show,
see,
I'm okay with it being.
That's what I don't like though, is like creating moments for too many people. You want to make it significant, so you do want to. I mean, ultimately, if you're putting on a big show like WrestleMania, I think you'd want to make those moments matter, and like the less is more, so to speak, with that. So in that regard, I would like it to be one night. And
thing is, I think more than enough fans would want it though. There's more than enough.
Yeah, I'm just curious about, like, it's almost like having the 3-hour Raws in comparison to a 2-hour Raw. Like, what's the long-term damage of having a 3-hour Raw for your creative process and the significance of star power, product, so on and so forth?
Do you have enough good stories to match that demand?
Exactly. Will it meet those needs?
Yeah, I thought they did, especially under the completely taped. No, they didn't even have any Thunderdome elements. Nothing. I thought this year's past WrestleMania was quite outstanding for what they had.
I thought they delivered on, for what the circumstances.
Yes,
I thought they delivered.
And I think this year's WrestleMania will be a profoundly special show because you will be able to hear an audience roar and respond to something. And even when we got to see that with Wrestle Kingdom a little bit, where the culture of Japan is much more reserved with attending events, they will come out, but they're much more reserved. I think this will feel special. The attraction of this year, the number one thing about this year's WrestleMania will be thousands of people will be able to see it live, and that will be an appeal to watching the event.
It speaks again to what you mentioned about the Super Bowl, it being like the litmus test almost. So it's like you heard fans at the Super Bowl, like you heard, it sounded like a good
also we're
there.
A couple weeks removed from the Super Bowl, and we've heard no news of any COVID outbreaks with it right now.
No. I think there was more of a concern of like the parade or the boat parade.
Yes,
like, I think that's where people were more like, that was.
Oh yeah, and within wrestling though, to counteract with it, we always have the piggybacking events of WrestleMania week. WrestleCon has announced they will have some type of socially distant convention. GCW has announced the collective events, which they say will also be socially distant. We don't know what those protocols will be. We're trying to find out more. Also, we get asked this every single day. We don't have any information when WrestleMania tickets go on sale, though we are told by people within the ticket industry that I've talked to is they are very, very careful about how they want to roll this out and how they want to do it. And I think there's a lot more hurdles to get through than just tickets are on sale this day. Because I think there may be a situation where they're asking for a level of quarantining around the event, maybe some testing, maybe can you prove that you're vaccinated? And that's a whole other debate that we can get into another one here. A couple more questions I want to roll into. People just excited for the return of fans here. Do want to talk to you about this situation with those other events. What do you think of that? Is it too much? The WrestleMania week events? I think so. I'm not saying I don't want them to run, but it depends on where the event is and how it's done.
Yeah, we talked about this, I think, a couple shows ago. I think I get why you're doing it. You have a fan base that will be there, and you mentioned this too. Is like, those fans are going to need to do something. Like they're going to, between WrestleMania, they're going to want to do something. So there will be that thing there, but. It's a tough thing to you want to carry on with the business of living, but you also have to have that delicate balance of like, all right, there's a pandemic going on. We still have to be careful, and it's Florida, and there's a lot of stuff going on here. So it's like, if I had to say, if I leaned on one side or the other, I would lean more so on I'm kind of against more of it than for it, but I do understand it, but you have to be careful with it too. It's like a big kind of non-answer in a lot of ways, but I would lean more so on I'm more against it than for it.
For sure. Something I'm for is you subscribing to the WrestleZone podcast. Plug.
Hey.
Like I said, we have hours and hours of content. Let us know what you guys think of that. I know a lot of you guys, our experience with you in show is the video element, but we don't want the podcast people to be left out. If you're enjoying the show, help us out on all the different podcast apps by giving us a 5-star review. 5-star review on whatever podcast app you are on. Thank you to people checking out the show in Singapore, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and of course, the island nation of Cyprus, where we are once again back on the Apple Sports podcast chart. I don't know who these people are in Cyprus that are listening to the show, but thank you guys so much. Appreciate it a whole lot. We will be back tomorrow with a news flash in the afternoon with me if you're looking for the live stream. But podcast and live stream, we will have your AEW NXT post show. Excited for the fallout of NXT with TakeOver. Excited to see what AEW is going to continue to do with this development of the New Japan figures being there. So a lot to follow up on. Dominic, I know you have some exciting pieces at WrestleZone to check out, don't you?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. We have, what do we do? Oh, today, Dominic Greeny. So Filthy Island is this, check it out. Tomorrow night is MLW Filthy Island, MLW Fusion. And it's going to be very, very unique. It's Team Filthy celebrating Tom Lawler's 2020 Opera Cup Championship, and they're having it like kind of what people had the impression of UFC doing for Fight Island. This is what Filthy
that
Island
they didn't do. They just took pictures of a beach where they took pictures of an octagon on a beach, and you thought, oh, they're gonna fight on a beach.
Hey, that's gonna be super sweet.
And then they fought in an arena.
Yeah.
And okay.
So I interviewed Dominic Greeny, who's 1/3 of the Team Filthy. He is going to be in action on it, and he also mentioned that this event, all the matches that are going on, are not going to have any ropes. So it's going to be straight up kind of fighting going down. And you have Savio Vega on the card fighting Mil Muertes. I interviewed Savio Vega. That interview will drop tomorrow. So it's going to be a very filthy week for us at WrestleZone. So check that out. Also, very, very big interview coming up. I conducted with Al Snow. We talked for over an hour and a half or so. Deep cut.
Let it be known that Dominic and I were supposed to do the show about a half an hour earlier. And I go to Dominic. I was like, "Hey, I'm ready to go." And he responds with, "I'm on the horn with," and I'm not going to say who it was, but he was on the horn with like a proverbial wrestling legend that he's able just to have these random conversations with, which are not on the record. They're just like, he just gives him a call, finds out how he's doing. And I'm just like, what? You're just like on like catch up phone call conversations with that person. And it isn't, the name drop isn't important. It's more just the back and forth between me and Dominic of like where I'm just like, hey, I hope we're gonna go. I'm not mad or anything. I'm just like,
no, I was feeling bad because I was like, oh
no.
Yeah, you know,
Dominic, don't feel bad at all. And so I was just more like, yeah. Oh wait, it was more like, yeah. Tell me how that conversation went.
Yeah.
Definitely. Maybe you can pry it out of Dominic or I on the socials. Give him a follow at Dominic DeAngelo, on Twitter. Me at Kev Kellam as well. And if you haven't done it already, how have you not done it already? Follow at WrestleZone Com. If you want that feed, you have Twitter up all day. We're there. Facebook, we're all day. Facebook, you got to do something a little bit extra. If you like our page, you need to follow it as well, so we can actually stay in your feed. Remember like 10 years ago when everything you followed on Facebook you actually saw?
I want those days again. Where it's
dude, I want those. You could actually start a band and get people to come out to shows. Now you can't do that.
Like group chats and group.
Oh my God, they were awesome.
Yeah.
They were totally awesome. We had probably had 10 times as many people watching the show a year ago when the algorithm was different. But
how crazy is that? That's dang you, Zuckerberg.
Thank you, Zuckerberg. You're the real heel. You're the third-party app.
That's right. You're that guy, aren't you?
Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Remember, as always, Dom, tell them what they got to do.
Hey, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
You know what,
Kev?
Yeah. Enjoy wrestling.
Darn right.